Hello, I'm Danny Gregory. This is Draw With Me. Thanks for joining me. I have missed you because I wasn't here last week. But I am here again. And so are you, I hope. So, as you just saw, we had a cavalcade of mini self-portraits that we drew in a little tiny zigzag book from Hahnemühle. That was what we did 2 weeks ago, and I've been gathering and looking through all those thousands of little mini drawings ever since. So, and in fact, later on today, I'm going to be giving away some of those mini zigzag books to those of you who wrote to me and told me that you wanted them. So that will be happening later in the program. So stay tuned for that. How have you been? Have you started to start thinking about the holidays? I mean, what choice do we have, really, right? It's been shoved down our gullet already. Thanksgiving is around the corner here in the United States. Thanksgiving that seems to have a shortage of turkeys for some reason. Well, we know what the reason is. So I don't know if people are going to have to make other plans besides eating turkey. It seems like that would be a shame. I'm going to be here on Thanksgiving, here in Draw With Me, because of course it's on a Thursday. And neither rain nor snow nor lack of turkeys is going to keep me from my appointed drawing appointment here with you. So, you know, if you're not doing anything on Thursday morning, come and draw with me. Get your whole family to come and draw with me, you know? They're probably just sitting around watching some stupid football game. Tell them to turn off the TV and come and watch Draw With Me and draw with us. And we will think about something, you know, something appropriate for the occasion, because it is a time to give thanks. And I think we have stuff to give thanks for. I hope you do. I do. So, yes, you can hear a small amount of noise today. The gardening guys came really early for some reason. My wife's theory is that they are angling for a Christmas tip. So they're trying to be nice and show up early and do extra work. We'll see. Yes. If anybody, yes. All right, good. So hopefully everything is sounding good, looking good. I've done some very slight rearrangements to my room. Can't tell the difference. No, I can. It makes me feel good to know that I'm now in this perfect place, perfect creative space. And then we have Christmas, and then we have New Year's. It's not too late or too early to start thinking about New Year's resolutions, maybe? Is it too early to be talking about that? I don't know, maybe. But 2022 is upon us, around the corner, nearly here. So maybe you want to make a resolution that you're going to show up and draw with me every single Thursday in 2022. Why not? Think of how amazing your life will be if you do that. Look how amazing my life is because I do that. All right. So today, enough dithering, enough screwing around. Today, I want to talk about robots. Robots, robots are encroaching upon us. Robots are getting more and more part of our lives, I think. You know, my car is constantly threatening to take over and drive itself. I recently found something I'm going to write about. You know, I write these essays every Friday. Hopefully you're on my mailing list. If you're not, you can find out how to get it. But every Friday I write an essay, and one of the ones that I'm thinking about writing is about an experiment I did with an artificial intelligence robot that writes. It's basically a copywriting, but also essay writing robot that is kind of amazing and kind of terrifying at the same time. It generates all kinds of kind of reasonable paragraphs, and actually it can kind of design the whole logic of an argument to lay out the structure of an essay. I don't honestly know how it does it. It has a anti-plagiarism thing built into it, so it's generating brand new information. So anyway, so thinking about that kind of robot, I'm also thinking about the fact that, I don't know if you know it, but a few years ago, 3 years ago, I had to have a pretty serious operation because I had a cancerous element inside of me. And guess who did the surgery? A robot named Da Vinci, appropriately enough. So Da Vinci sawed into me, pulled out the offending organ, and saved my life. So I was saved by a robot. So I owe robots. Even if they take over my weekly essay, they will take it over. And then I saw this. Check this out.
To take the two things that kids are into, it's art and it's technology, and then combining them in a way that they're still learning something, using their creativity, they're staying engaged. I love what you said, Stephanie, about how it's completely different than going online and finding some drawing video where they're going to get sidetracked, they're getting more screen time in, and you don't know what's popping up.
Sidetracked by a drawing video. Does that ever happen? Does that ever happen to you? You being sidetracked by a drawing video when you could be having a robot do the work for you? Check this out.
You don't know what that content actually is. With this, everything comes included. You don't have to buy batteries. It's rechargeable.
Yeah, it
Just
does
so
come
easy.
with the charging cable.
I don't need Wi-Fi or an app to use it, and I can feel good knowing my kids are going to stay engaged and learn something really cool.
Yeah, I want to give you a
What are
little
these
tour of Quincy, too. Oh, the books are for drawing in. That will show you all the pictures that go along with the cards. You can use any paper, any pen, really, but the books are nice because you can look at the lemon and then draw the lemon there.
What do we think about that? Martis asks, will the drawing robot have a robot monkey? I don't know if the robot is plagued by any form of self-doubt. But if you're looking for a Christmas gift to give to all of your friends and grandchildren and neighbors, they sell those on Amazon, but for God's sake, don't buy one. I mean, I was kind of tempted. I was like, maybe I can just have... we can just cut away to, here's the robot doing the drawing of the robot or whatever it is. Maybe next time we'll do that. Just say no. All right. Well, I see that there are people speaking French to each other in the community. That's nice. Danish people with Scottish names speaking French. That's good. All right. Maureen likes being sidetracked by art videos. Yes. And you never know what the content will be. You never know what kind of horrendous things might show up in these YouTube and Facebook videos. Okay. So anyway, so robots are all around us. Robots do good things. Robots are redundant. Robots, I think increasingly we've come to understand that robots are benign. They're not here to take our jobs. Well, unless you're an artist or a writer or a truck driver or somebody who works in a factory or a surgeon. Other than that, though, you're fine. So robots are our friends. They don't mean us any harm. So let us draw some robots. I mean, most of the robots we've seen are kind of dull, right? I mean, there's movie robots, so maybe that's what we could focus on. We could think, but I think we should just make up our own imaginary robots. And if we wanted to, we could even make robots that have purposes and kind of figure that out. But it's just kind of a fun exercise for our imaginations. Cool? You down with that? Does not compute. Okay, Hal, let's go. So, all right. Using this Hahnemühle Hemp sketchbook, hemp, it's the thing. This is hemp and cotton. And it is, I don't know, I like this paper. It's nice and soft. It's fun for these kinds of exercises too. You can kind of knock stuff out fairly quickly. And, it's nice to work in a pad. I like to work in a pad sometimes instead of in a sketchbook. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's grab, I want you to work along with me. Adrian, hello. What did Adrian have to say? She used to follow me a long time ago and is finally back to it. Welcome back, Adrian. I was wondering where you were. Let's get on it. Oh, Finch. People are talking about the Finch movie. That's right. Yeah, that's this new movie with Tom Hanks. I've heard a lot of people telling Tom Hanks that he looks like me. Maybe when I had hair. Anyway, so Tom Hanks is, he has this robot, and it has an emotional connection with it. I won't give away what happens or when it happens, but, it's kind of cute. All right, so let's start with his head. I think my robot's going to have a big, kind of a square head. I think I'm going to draw a bunch of robots, so let's not worry too much about the first one. He's going to have like a kind of a visualizing panel, should we call it, rather than eyes. It's going to be this sort of visualizing panel. Maybe he has a kind of camera up here that he uses to look at stuff, but then maybe he also has a bunch of cameras because he likes to look in all different directions. So that's going to be my camera. And he's going to have one more camera over here for just contemplating the cosmos, looking up. Maybe this camera can be focused. And what else? He's going to have some kind of a mouth-like thing that he uses to talk with. I don't know. Yeah, maybe this goes up and down. I don't know. We'll see. And he might have, I don't know, maybe he has some kind of ornamentation that has no particular purpose, but helps to make him look more like a humanoid with cheekbones. Then he has a kind of nice, flexible, rotating neck so he can look in all different directions, although he already has those cameras, so that's a bit redundant, but he's got redundant systems to make sure that he's, working effectively under all conditions. And I think he has to, this is the cliche, right? You have to have kind of a big panel with sort of computer tapes on the front. He's going to be sort of a 1950s influenced guy who has these kind of constantly swirling sort of things. Like a disk drives, not disk drives, like a belt drive or a computer tape, that kind of thing. Then he has, obligatory kind of buttons. I'm not sure who the buttons are going to be pushed by. Maybe he pushes them himself. And he's going to have, so this is going to be like some kind of a shoulder joint that allows him to move his arm in this direction and in this direction. Maybe he has more than one sort of joint in the middle, There's no rule that says he has to only have an elbow. He could have multiple sort of things that turn in different directions. And then he has to have some kind of a claw, the claw, like that. Some sort of claw for picking stuff up. And then he might have a completely different sort of thing coming out of this side that is more, I don't know, maybe this has interchangeable sort of tools that can fit on it. So he could have, like a drill or something if he wanted it to make stuff. Maybe that's what he's capable of. He has a drill, has some sort of, looks kind of like a gun. Maybe it's a screw gun. And he's sort of a construction robot. And then to continue the sort of anthropomorphizing of him, he'll have a six-pack. But this is not a regular six-pack. It's not a six-pack of beer, but it is some sorts of dials and computer screens and things like that just look kind of tough and muscular. And then he has sort of a hip thing that allows him to rotate here. And then he has one sort of wheel-like thing that he operates on. And then maybe he has one of those sort of caterpillar-like things where you have two wheels and then you have, I don't know, a track. That comes down, and I'm not sure what this thing is. All right, we'll just leave that. We'll leave that undescribed for now. All right, so that's my one robot. We could always come in here and, I don't know, maybe we give him some, there we go, then he has maybe a couple of little like warning lights. So he's simple. All right. So yes, this is just the generic robot. I was looking to see if any of you have any comments about robots or a Borg. Yeah, so Borg is like Doctor Who. So because that's another thing is like there's a whole other world of robots which are much more like less humanoid and more sort of like, like if you think about R2-D2 or you think about what are those things called? Dalids, is that what they're called? The things on Doctor Who? So maybe I'm going to try and make one that is a lot less human looking. Do we need them to be human? Is it better that they're not human? Is it better that robots look like more like machines? Should a robot look more like a vacuum cleaner? That's a question. Will we feel differently about them? I don't know. Like the robot that operated on me, I don't even think it looked. I think it was just like a bunch of arms with like rotating knives on them or something. Sounds kind of terrifying, actually. But yeah, there's this whole. Do you know this concept of the uncanny valley? Does that sound familiar? Here, I have to show you this. So this morning I'm working in here, just getting ready, and I accidentally knocked over some pencils and they fell on the ground. Can you see that? Now, I used to do this when I was like in second and third grade. I never did that. But an animal, and I think I know which animal it was, seems to have gotten at these things. It happened in 5 minutes while I was sitting here. So the list of suspects, yes, as Chris points out, it looks like they got twiggled. Yeah. So yes, so that's what happened. That was the most exciting thing to happen this morning here in the studio in preparation. So yeah, so maybe it's better to not think about the purpose of these robots' features, but instead to just think about what makes them look cool, what makes them look sort of badass. Like this guy seems to have sort of like little springs that he jumps up and down on. And yeah, so maybe not understanding its purpose is better. Anyway, so I was saying the uncanny valley. So the uncanny valley is a concept that particularly applies in computer graphics business in the movie world and also video games, I think. And what it is that when you animate something, when you make a computer-generated image of something that's human-like, if it looks too much like a human, it gets to what they call the uncanny valley. So the idea is there's kind of like, there's humans on one side, there's these sort of computer-generated things, or things we accept as digital on the other side. And as they come closer to each other, you get to a point where this thing, this creature, this invention, makes us feel unsettled because it is almost human, but not quite. There's something slightly wrong about it. And it's gotten closer and closer. Like the uncanny valley has gotten closer and closer to, they're able to create things that look almost quite right. But then there'll be like the way that the skin moves ever so slightly, or the reflection in the eye, or those kinds of things. And so you end up creating things that people are repelled by rather than attracted to, or that they don't accept, so that we think, there's something amiss here, and I don't accept that is actually, there's something threatening about it instead of something likable about it. So anyway, there's no likelihood of that happening here with my drawings. I don't think you will mistake them for reality, but I'm sure you've had that experience where you watch a movie and you're like, is that real or not? Like there's something just very primal in us that does not accept things that are not quite right. And I think it's probably a good thing, but I imagine it makes computer graphic designers' lives quite difficult. All right, this is some sort of multi-shoed robot. That's like a huge trend now, all these robots with lots of shoes. I'm sure you've seen them around, walking around your local mall. Somebody I noticed in the chat was talking about, yes, Patricia mentioned a robot made in the 1770s by a Swiss watchmaker called which is an unusual name for a robot. Oh, called the Writer. I see. Okay. I prefer but yes, so that's interesting. So I wonder what that means. That it was a robot. Was it just like a clockwork thing, probably? Like you wound it up and then it kind of walked around on a table, like an automaton. I bet it didn't deliver packages or cut people open and do operations on them. So what are some good movie robots? Somebody mentioned AI. There was some TV show I remember from a couple years ago where they had basically robots that were people. They were just played by actors, and they they became quite threatening in the end to people, or people abused them, or they became semi-conscious. I think that's often what we think is going to happen with robots. Like, we're suddenly going to start treating them, we treat them like machines, and then suddenly they get offended. But if you think about it, I mean, we look after our, if you have a car, like, you don't abuse it, you don't sort of treat it badly, but you also, bring it into the house and watch TV with it. Although my car, you can watch TV in the car. So maybe we're getting close there. But anyway, the point is we have a different kind of relationship with machines than we do with creatures. But what if you had a robotic pet? How would you feel about that? Like a robotic pug that's programmed not to chew pencils. You can program it into it, and it will never destroy your personal property. I think that's a great idea. I might have to look into that. What do you guys think? I'm sure you could cover it with fur. I'm sure you could program it to either need to go to the bathroom at 3 o'clock in the morning or not need to go to the bathroom at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm sure you can train it to bark at strangers. I'm sure you can train it to bark when there aren't strangers, but it's just kind of random and you decide to start barking a lot because it's fun. I bet you could train a thing to do that. Why would anybody ever want that? I have no idea. But yet somehow certain animals seem to think that that's a desirable trait. Yes. The Jetsons, yes. So the Jetsons had basically a robot that was just a servant. It was like, I'm going to whisper this, but Alexa, even if you whisper it, Alexa is like, yes. Alexa, are you a robot?
I like to imagine myself a bit like an aurora borealis, a surge of charged multicolored photons dancing through the atmosphere.
Did you hear that? I don't know what she is doing in her spare time, but clearly she did not take to that idea of being a robot. Strange. There was amazing. What was it called? There was this organization. It was like an art collective, and I'm sure somebody out there is going to have heard of it. And what they would do is they would make these amazing robots that were incredibly violent, and they would build a ring, almost like an ancient Roman Colosseum, and these robots would fight each other. And they were enormous. Some of them were like a tank with flamethrowers and hammers, and they would beat the hell out of each other. And it was called something like, it had a really tech name, like intelligence systems or something. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? I just remember, I can remember in the 90s they had these things. It wasn't Transformers and it wasn't BattleBots. No, it was an art collective. These were real things that they actually made. So maybe it's time to make a really unpleasant looking robot. Somebody out there's got to know about this. Rock'em Sock'em robots. No, it wasn't No, this is. I'll figure it out, or maybe somebody else will. Systems. It had something. The word systems in the title. Pacific Rim. That was also another robot movie. That's true. JJ. Yeah, Rock'em Sock'em Robots. That was, it was a game. You knocked my block off. Yeah. kind of like drawing in this style. It's not really my usual style, but just kind of really simple, strong lines. Reminds me a bit of high school. This is a high school kind of thing to do, isn't it? Or maybe like middle school, drawing robots. I remember my son used to draw these like giant battlefields with hundreds of kind of guys and machines and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so this is a more incomprehensible robot, but it looks like it's probably unpleasant, right? Maybe it just needs a little bit of, there we go. It's just so you understand what its purpose is. Some blood spatters, some blood is dripping off it. There you go. Survival Research Laboratories. Exactly. Laura Henry Kukulski for the win. Yes. SRL. Survival Research Laboratory. Martha Blair coming in late, but still getting partial credit. Very good. Stacy Rickard actually came up with the Wikipedia article. Okay, you guys are Googlers of the first order. So I just remember that the guys who did this stuff, a lot of them were really badly injured at various points in the manufacturing of these things. Like they would be attacked by the robots while they were making them. And they were like guys with like missing fingers and guys with like prosthetic knees and legs and all kinds of things because they were artists, but they were also incredible, I guess you would call them like makers, mechanical engineers. What are they called? Anyway, they were guys who could like make anything. And these things were made with like pistons and they were just really powerful, and they were a lot of them were hydraulic. They weren't necessarily computer powered. They were just, oof. Later on, I'm gonna be watching those again. I'm gonna be blasting some SRLs, Survival Research Laboratory. It's a kind of a badass name too, don't you think? Yes. Metropolis. Yes, I remember Metropolis. Metropolis had like a very sort of sexy looking woman robot, right? Had sort of, this is actually nothing like what she looked like. But let's pretend for a minute that this is what she looked like. Give her some kind of a metal cap. This looks more like sort of a guy at a skiing resort. But imagine that that's what robots become. They become so friendly, so accessible, and then they move in for the kill with the pistons and the slamming hammers and the belching flamethrowers. Yeah, so this is going to be a robot in a sweater vest. Why not? How do you know he's a robot? Because he has these mechanical mandibles. They're not mandibles. They are, gripping things. Looks a little bit like a lobster. But then he only has the one. He has the one skiing leg. There you go. Yeah, his name is, he's wearing a sweater vest with patterns on it. Why not? They don't all have to be made out of metal and plastic. They could have sweater vests. Maybe it's, why is that not a thing? For obvious reasons, right? So yeah, so there we have it. This is a skiing, but possibly deceptively dangerous robot. Who has, he has like a spear gun attachment that he carries on a special strap, like that, and yeah. I mean, you're going to see those. Those are in our future. All right. What next? What next? What next? What next is gray. That's what's next. Robotic dinosaurs. Oh, I like that idea. What's a robotic dinosaur look like? It could have big... like a stegosaurus, right? But with, those kinds of things, whatever they are called. And then maybe that's more like it, right? What else would it have? It would have armor plating. Or alternatively, it would be made out of concrete blocks. Could happen. Could happen. They could be made out of anything in these robots. All they need is a bit of imagination. Soupçon of imagination. But yes, these are vicious, and maybe they have little teeth that go there. So yeah, so this is some kind of an insane dinosaur-inspired thing. I think, speaking of Da Vinci, didn't Da Vinci design some things like this? He designed like these sort of like robotic things that people brought into battle. Like, I don't know if they were actually made, but like things that could be dragged by horses that had plating on them and fired catapults and stuff. I think he did do that kind of thing. I think that's why they liked him so much. The kings and the like. It wasn't for the paintings. It was because he was like a major inventor of weaponry, right? Oh, Leo. Iron Man sort of thing. Iron Man isn't really a robot though, right? It's like he's a guy who wears a suit. He's kind of like a Elon Musk fancies himself that. This one would make a great delivery robot. Maybe that sounds like one step away from being unemployed. But yes, here comes the giant, scary, terrifying dinosaur armor-plated robot with rotating spikes who's here to deliver your pepperoni. Do you remember there was that Monty Python skit about the, who was it, Eric Idle maybe? Who was like a guy who had designed, he designed slaughterhouses, abattoirs. And he was hired, he was trying to get into other kinds of lines of work. So he was designing like a school or a shopping center or something like that. And the only thing that he knew, the only references he had were slaughterhouses. So it was always about like, and then the customers will come up and they'll go up this, they'll go up the staircase and then they'll enter the rotating knives and then the blood will drain out of the building here. And they were like, "What? We don't want rotating knives. This is a shopping center. We don't want to kill our customers." Okay, and I understand. Yeah. So then, anyway, I haven't looked at Monty Python in a long time. Maybe it's time. Karen said she was in a grocery store that had a robot that was a box of Tide that followed customers around. The faster you walked, the faster it got. It was fun to watch it. The fact that it's being followed by Tide seems to be particularly terrifying. Tide, like a giant box of Tide. Did it have rotating knives? New with rotating knives. It's got like just a little chainsaw. You know, that's all. And maybe it has just a little sword. You know, nothing too threatening, but you know, if you're out in aisle 3 and you put the beans back in the wrong shelf, guess what? Here comes the crimson tide. Boy, this whole exercise has taken kind of a disturbing direction. What have you people done? I just wanted to draw nice robots, and now look what you've got me doing. Cuts through the grime. It's true. Chappie, and then what was that? The guy who made Chappie also made another movie that was all about. It had like a number, like AC-57 or something, that was about like a South Africa, but there were robots that drones. Heidi thinks that I could be the next Casey Kasem. I've listened to I guess Casey Kasem's dead, but that's nice. I'll have to go and I have to go back to making my podcast. It's been off out of commission for a little while because I've been making these video essays here on YouTube. And oh, by the way, we're about to receive a special award from YouTube. This sounds like a joke. It's not actually a joke. We're getting an award with our name inscribed on it from YouTube because we have 100,000 subscribers. So yeah, thank you. And I'll let you know when we get it. It should be arriving. Like it could have arrived today. It might arrive today. It's going to be here very soon. So next week I can show it to you. We can open it up and unbox it and see what it is. But yeah. So the robots at YouTube have sent me an award. District 9. That was it. Off the chain. Yes. All right. Well, oh no. My wife does not like me spending a lot of time on the podcast. She doesn't listen to podcasts. Right? The entire world listens to podcasts, but not my wife. So I say, oh, I check out my podcast. And she's like, I don't listen to podcasts. So I can do whatever I want on the podcast and she'll never know. But I wouldn't. All right. We've wasted enough time doing robots. I mean, we did quite a lot of them. We did the Tide robot. We did this dinosaur robot. We did the sweater vest robot. We did the extremely lethal robot. We did the multi-shoed robot. We did the sort of, I don't know, what is it? He's like a mailbox, the mailbox robot. And we did the original super complicated one with the strange appendage here, robot. Hey, it's time to talk about something else. It is time to talk about, robots are hard to draw. Tom, come on. Man, you just saw me draw a whole bunch of them. A 6-year-old can draw a robot. And I don't mean to insult you or 6-year-olds, but robots, they're in your DNA. You were once a boy, I'm sure. Okay. So here we go. I want to share with you my our sketchbook tour of the week. You know, every week we pull a sketchbook out. And the one this week is actually from my friend Tommy Kane. He just posted it. You might have seen it on YouTube and Facebook. Tommy Kane is one of my oldest friends. We've known each other since we both had hair. And he was one of the original teachers at Sketchbook School, by the way. But he is the most amazing sketchbook artist that I think there is. I mean, there's There's just really no comparison. And you'll see it. You'll see. If you've never seen his work before, you're about to see it. Prepare yourself. It will blow you away. He posted this. I have to tell you, I monkeyed with it a little bit because I slowed it down because he flipped through it really quickly in like 40 seconds. I was like, there's no way. We have to slow this thing down and look at it a little bit more closely. So I re-edited it just a tiny bit. So, yes, here we go. I know you're all excited, and it's coming. Yeah, not much to say after that, right? So I saw that sketchbook this summer when it was about 3/4 filled. And it's like one of those things where you feel like you should be putting on white gloves during the pages like that. So amazing and so I mean, he just puts so much detail into it. He works in a little bit of watercolor, primarily in pen and in colored pencil. But yeah. So it is, so he's been working on this book about vegan art because he's a vegan and he's done a lot of stuff that is about protecting animals and why we shouldn't eat animals and so forth. So he's been working on a book. I think it was held up by all the supply chain COVID-y stuff, but I know that it is on the horizon. So yeah, it is pretty cool. So yes, so I mentioned that I had these zigzag little sketchbooks. Here, focus on my finger. Yeah, so so these are from Hahnemühle. They sent me a bunch of them, and I filled one last week, but I'm giving them away. I have a whole stack of them. So I mentioned this 2 weeks ago, and a lot of people wrote in to say that they wanted one. And we kind of picked a bunch that seemed like they wanted them the most. And here we have them. So maybe they're in the audience, maybe they're not. But we'll get them to them anyway. Veronica Hausner, this is your mini zigzag. And who's this? Lynn Braga. This is your mini zigzag. We're going to send them to you. And who's this? Pat Chalou. Maybe I should turn them over so we can see all the names. Who else? Tammy Murdoch and Peg Patterson. Those are all I have. That's all I have right now from Hahnemühle. But these guys are going to get theirs congratulations to the zigzagglers, as Budacrafts put it. Yes, it's true. I did not want to part with these. I really love these little things. They're so cute. But, you know, share the wealth. So I think you can buy them also. They're not very expensive, so you could buy one if you really wanted one. But, yeah. So these are them. I think we've just been speaking to our pals at Hahnemühle, and I think we're going to be able to give away a lot more stuff next year. So we'll let you know about that. But, you know, I love to send you guys stuff like this, and this will be a chance to do it. But, yeah. So thanks again for joining me and, you know, for drawing robots with me. I want to see your robots. I hope you will share them with me. And I'll see you, you know, in a week, if not sooner. Thanks for drawing with me today. We'd love to see what you made. So please post it on social media or put it in the Sketchbook School schoolyard and make sure to tag it, #SBS Draw With Me. Thanks very much to our sponsors, Hahnemühle and Winsor and Newton. And if you'd like some more inspiration for your creativity, here are 3 things that you can do. 1, subscribe to this channel, and you'll know when I make new videos, which I do every week. 2, sign up for my free weekly newsletter. A lot of people seem to like it, maybe because it's free. And 3rd, watch another video.